and welcome to the Women in ERP podcast. I'm your host, Abigail Ullman. I'm the founder of the Women in ERP platform. Joining me today is my co-host, Stephanie Paul. Stephanie is the sales manager for IFS, and she's a huge advocate and champion for women working in and around the ERP sector. Hi, Steph.
Hey, Abby.
Today, we are joined by a leading lady in the world of SAP, Fiona Warburg. Fiona is the SAP Centre of Excellence Manager for Welsh Water and a former director of the UK and Ireland SAP user group, now a prominent member. It's great to have you on the show also.
Hello and welcome.
So, firstly, Fiona, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to the world of ERP?
Yes, so you have to go back a way. So I guess it sort of started, my first foray into tech was in 1999. So this was the year leading up to the year 2000, so that might date me slightly. But it was an opportunity. I was working in a insurance organization. They needed coders, so this is back in the day, COBOL, Kix DB2, proper techie, and they were training people up. Had an opportunity to get into that. I'll be honest, it was money that first tempted me over. It was better than the administration role I was in currently. So took the leap into tech. But then I was made redundant about 7 years later, was looking for a role and was offered a role working with SAP. I thought, again, why not? Give it a go. So I won't say it was not part of a grand plan at all, but it has worked out. And yeah, the rest, as they say, probably history, but I've spent 20 odd years now working around SAP.
That's brilliant. So you didn't start out in a tech role, or have you always been techie?
No, yeah. So I'll be honest. I actually went for a short foray to university, 3 months, doing manufacturing engineering. So obviously I must have had a bias at somewhere to be slightly technical, but really disliked it. So came home and my parents like, yeah, you're coming home, get a job. And I started off in accounting. So it was doing my ACCA at the time.
Yeah.
But I'd spent about a year doing that when this role came up to go into coding. And my dad's background actually happened to be in exactly the same technology. So it shows, I mean, it was even dated at that point when I went into it. But I was like...
So it wasn't totally alien. You kind of had exposure to it as opposed to just...
But there was almost do I really want to do what my dad did? You know, it was, sandals and socks type. That's what you expect, isn't it? It was like, oh, they're all going to be geeky, nerdy, but actually, once you get into it, it's not.
No.
And hopefully, I mean, there are pockets. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, everywhere. I guess, especially in '99, it was like going into that the 2000 where everyone thought everything was going to collapse. I remember nothing's going to work the next day.
And as it happened, it was fine.
Myself.
Yeah. So it was an opportunity. I didn't come out of, I spent a very short foray in university, but it wasn't part of the grander plan. But once you sort of make that leap and you're like, actually, no, I enjoy this, enjoy what I'm doing, enjoy the people I work with. And it's just sort of taken off from there.
Been sort of a natural progression, I guess. That's nice. It's nice. And as a woman, have you found that path because you're quite high up now, I guess, in the world of ERP and SAP in what you do, I would say. Have you found that path to seniority difficult as a woman?
The bit that I think I've found more than anything is financial. There's definitely been a gender pay gap. More than one role that I've been in, so without naming names, or sort of even a recent role, found that a male counterpart who decided not to take the role was offered more money than I was for the same role. Obviously went back to negotiate, but it's like, I don't know. I mean, hopefully it's not. I think it probably was because women seem to generally be on lower salaries than their male counterparts.
Yeah,
I think.
Have you seen that kind of evolve, do you think? So when you first joined, I guess in 99, were you one of the only females? And have you seen more females come along, but also I guess in terms of the gender pay gap, have you seen improvements, do you think, in that period?
Sadly, less so in the gender pay gap. I've seen more women, so I think definitely making strides there. But I think, there are definitely still challenges around the gender pay gap. And I think that's going to take a while to resolve.
It's difficult because you shouldn't know.
No.
So how do we address it if we don't know it's going on? It's a difficult one.
Yeah, and I think at least the reporting is, although I think they need to push it some more. I think there was the government organisational reporting.
Yeah.
It's over a certain threshold, isn't it, in terms of the number of employees?
Perhaps more around that. And you're right, we shouldn't know. And I shouldn't have known that somebody that applied for the same role was offered
but
more
it happens.
than I was. But, he was somebody I used to work with and he was open with me. So I think it's that transparency.
Exactly the same thing happened to me. And it's hard not to be emotional about it. For me, I was actually really, first I was flabbergasted, then I just got angry. And I was like, this is just not fair. Like, because actually in my situation, I found I was actually outperforming the men. And I was like, how is this right? Like, it's just, it's bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's good that you've obviously called it out. I called it out. And I think if we continue to do that, it helps kind of rebalance things. But it shouldn't be there in the first place.
No, sadly it is. But but as for, there are definitely more women, I think, coming. I don't know whether you're seeing the same, but we've still got a way to go. Don't get me wrong, but definitely seeing more.
It's increasing, it definitely is. And you currently co-run the SAP Women Initiative. And tell us a little bit about that. How did that come about, and what are you using that to do?
Yeah, so actually it was Craig Dale, who's the CEO of the UKI user group, actually approached me while I was on the board, and they wanted to launch it. So we only launched pretty much a year ago. So November last year, we have a big conference annually. And he approached me to say, look, we're doing a lot on inclusion and diversity. We want to launch a Women in SAP stream. So you sort of stand back and, what do we do? Initially it was, what do we need that for? But actually, once you start finding out a little bit more about it, and women in tech in general, and so many themes started coming out. We are underrepresented. I did some looking at stats. I think is it population in general, we're 50%, but actually in tech we're only 30%. So definitely underrepresented in tech. And whenever we went to the conferences, it's all white men in middle-aged men in suits, with a splattering of women here and there.
So true.
Yeah, it is.
Even now.
I'm not going to profess we're not going to fix it all, but, with the support of the user group, we can actually start to address some of the topics that started coming out about, and I suppose they're probably ones you've already started looking into around the fact that women, we don't apply for jobs unless we tick every box, and it's stuff like that once I started finding out, oh my God, I did that, I haven't, I would like to help other people so they don't, I wouldn't say it's a mistake, but it's part of my being women being that we don't do this, and I didn't realise, there's the imposter syndrome stuff as well. We've been doing some around that, and it's more, the more I get involved in it, the more I hear stories from people, the more you just want to help.
Yeah, it's almost as if, well, it is the case that this industry has not been built for women, and we're these natural beings with our own ways of doing things, and they don't fit into this as a norm. And like you say, when we go for job interviews, we make sure that we fit every line that's requested before we actually apply for that, because that's a female thing. We want to be thorough in how we approach something, I guess, which is brilliant in an ERP setting, but it holds us back, doesn't it?
Definitely. I mean, even things like this, talking about the language you use in job adverts. And, actually there are wordings. If you word it one way, you're more likely to appeal to females rather than males. And you're just, again, I'm learning so much that you don't really think about.
It's that unconscious bias, isn't it? That, we all know exists, but you don't really, until you sit and think about it, you're just not aware of it.
And I think some of the stories that I'm hearing from, we do quite a lot with regards to, we have monthly mentor sessions, which people can sign up if you're part of the SAP user group, trying to get, again, leading women in the SAP space to impart advice and sort of sharing stories. And some of the things that come out about, well, actually, I was looked over for an opportunity just because I had a young baby. They presumed I didn't want to take a more challenging role because of that. And you're like, but she said when approached, or when she approached them about the role, why she hadn't been considered, but couldn't have been further from the truth. I'm trying to think what else. The fact, that was it. People going for presentations, but actually were then sidelined with thank you for your content. We'll give it to John to do because we think he projects more. And you're just like, how can it be happening in this day and age?
Yeah, I've definitely had that. I can be presenting in a meeting, and then all the questions get directed at a male colleague, and I'm like, do you remember me? I was the one that actually presented it.
Yeah, my ideas and just come from my head, not his.
I have to say, it doesn't happen as much as I guess it used to, but it definitely still happens. It actually only happened to me a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, wow.
Ooh. Yeah. And so, a lot of what we do with the women in SAP stuff is to sort of highlight some of that, educate, try to work out, actually, if you're in that position, how to approach it. But actually, I think it's one of the things you've talked about, sort of men as allyship as well, try to highlight to men what's happening, and then they hopefully address it. And hopefully they're not doing it purposely.
Most of the time they don't know, do they? It's quite interesting. It's that unconscious.
It's just the way, things have been created. And I guess we sort of chug along every day doing the same things that we're used to doing. And as men, they do that. And the world is changing around us. And we've got to adapt. So are you finding the female members of the user group are really benefiting from the SAP and Women Initiative?
Yeah, we're getting very positive feedback. Unfortunately, we had an event in July, which I couldn't make because of train strikes, but it was well attended. The feedback was amazing. And it's a lot about getting other women to tell their stories, having a comfortable setting where you can just talk about issues that affect women.
Real issues.
In tech. Yeah. One of the things we've done, or will be doing, is women-only speaker training. So again, trying to make, I guess, the setting so it's comfortable for people. You find, again, having started to get involved in the community, how much actually women, when they've got other men or strong men in the room, don't want to speak up or don't want to take part in things.
Yeah.
So I think it's, and it is strange because I suppose I don't think I've ever suffered particularly, speaking up in amongst other men, but I think, that when you start talking about actually, did I not go for roles, or did I not have the right sort of encouragement to think, I can do that, which is what we're hopefully giving to other people, and giving opportunities of speaking to women that have been there, done it, offering their advice.
I also get this thing when I speak up in a room of men where I'm trying to be assertive. Perhaps I just come across as aggressive because I'm a woman. I don't know. I get that. I'm frightened of people.
Definitely, I won't say I was proactively going out there to set up the Women in SAP, but I'm really glad I've got involved. And the more I get involved, the more I get to know about, actually, we can do this or pick up that. So we've got a stream at our next conference, which is the end of the month. So hopefully, Abi, you'll be there as well. But, we've got a stream on, how do we get more young females? We've got one of the ladies from SAP coming to talk about what they're doing, what other people can do. We've got the importance of allyship, which I think is one of your podcasts in the past.
Yeah.
Running that. Another one around how to create your own employee resource group. So basically, I suppose what you've done, Abi, but within your own organisation. So hopefully running some sessions on that. And how to create your own brand, which has come up a few times on some of our mentor sessions.
Yeah. It's important. It's important to sort of to show that you exist. And we say it time and time again that young girls and women can't be what they can't see. So that brand element, even, as a social media perspective, it's more than that. It's showing the world that there are women within this industry. I think it is really important. So your role at Welsh Water at the moment is you're the SAP Centre of Excellence Manager. What does your role entail?
Right. Yeah, it was a grand title. Well, within Welsh Water, they didn't like the term Centre of Excellence. So they thought that being a centre of excellence, we were talking down to everybody. So we now are a collaboration centre. But it basically means, anything SAP comes under myself. So be that new projects or the day-to-day running or strategy, best practice. So I'll be honest. So when I first took the role at Welsh Water, I just had the strategy and best practice part. And then as part of a reorg, I inherited, I won't say I went after it, but I've inherited the projects and the BAU. And I almost was just like, what, they're giving it to me? Oh my God, can I do it? I went through exactly that imposter syndrome now. What are they giving it to me for? But mostly, I'll be honest, my job involves a lot of meetings, a lot of making decisions about people, shall we do X or Y? It's like, right, let's do X, let's go with it. Try to manage partners. So we do a lot with third-party providers, escalating to them, it's a lot of trying to get people to do stuff.
Yeah. Coordinating all the pieces to make it as smooth running as possible.
And what version of SAP are you on now? Are you cloud-based yet?
So, well, we have because SAP is a number of different projects. I mean, in the ERP space particularly, we're still on-prem, so ECC6, but we do have, so there's a product called SuccessFactors, so that all our HR is cloud, C4C, so that's all the CX stuff is cloud. So we've got a whole mixture of on-prem, and we're just doing a move to Azure, so out of our own data centers into Azure. So
lots of things going on, crikey.
So how do you manage that work-life balance? I always call it a negotiation. How do you do it?
With help from my other half, who does come in, just like, remind me of the time. I don't work all hours, God gave, because I've done that. I've been there. Yeah, you don't get the thanks for it. But I haven't quite found that, it's cut-off time. But it does, with that. And I try not to log on too early. I think, right, no, give myself, even if it's, I look over, I've got myself a little elliptical trainer now, so in my study. So, like, no, do 20 minutes on the elliptical trainer.
Oh, well done.
Have your breakfast. Don't log on. But it doesn't always work.
No, see, I'm terrible. I need to do something like this. I'll just sit with coffee and just zone at the wall for a little.
It's habits though, isn't it? You get, like you say, you go, right, I'm going to go and do it. And I think once you do it a few times, you kind of get into a rhythm, but it's that consistency that I always struggle with. I can be great for 2 days and I think, I must have lost like a stone in 2 days or whatever I'm like trying to do. And then suddenly you're like, I just can't be bothered.
Yeah.
It's so hard to keep it going.
Oh, and it's worse now because it's morning and now it's getting dark, although at least now that we've saved the hour,
that's made a difference this morning, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a difference to me. I've got 3 young kids. So.
Oh.
So you didn't get the extra hour at all.
Don't get any sleep. So you've had an ERP-centric role for many years.
Yeah.
Have you found yourself to be a minority as a woman in that? And how have you broken those traditional barriers that many women face when they're progressing in their fields?
Different organisations have, given different, am I the only woman or are there a few women? I mean, definitely, I spent quite a lot of time at a gas utility. And at that point, it's the only woman in ERP. Yeah. A lot of the sessions we go to the user group as well are quite male dominated. Less so. Welsh Water, we've got a better balance. I don't know whether that's because I've employed a fair chunk of my team, but I'm trying to make it not quite 50-50, but got much more even balance. And it's been one of those, I guess, because my whole career has been very, I've been in the minority, whether I don't know what it's like to not be.
Yeah.
But I think I'm quite, determined. I would never call myself stubborn, but I do like to do a good job and do it well. And I think that's just kept me in good stead. And actually, I've had the encouragement of my family, my other half have always sort of been very encouraging of, no, you can do it when I've changed jobs.
Yeah.
And generally I've changed jobs because there is that step up and it's the, can I do it? And they've always been, yep, no, you're good at what you do. Friends, I've got a close circle of, a few really close friends, other half.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
And it's been more so than work itself. Yeah, because I think other people have, a lot of people talk about mentors within work. A lot of mine have been outside.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. And I think it's important. I have both actually. And it's very different in the approach. And I get a lot of, I guess, encouragement at home, but I almost live in disbelief. Like, who are they talking about? You know? Not me. But then you get the guys at work that give you the same boost, and you kind of, I guess that's because they're working with me and they see sort of the industry side of things, that you I kind of believe them more than my husband. It's terrible.
But I'm sure men do need encouragement as well, but I think there are fewer of them and they don't need as much. Yeah. Makes me sound really needy.
No, but it's a confidence thing. It's that imposter syndrome, like you say, and it's kind of, I don't know, I just think sometimes we need that little extra push. And then you go, oh, actually, I can do this. It's that comfort zone, isn't it? I'm quite happy where I am, but actually I know I need to challenge myself. And the only way I'm going to do that is to step up or do whatever I need to do. I do think there is a difference between men and women for that, for sure.
Yeah, and I say it's more, again, the more I've got involved with the Women SAP group, the more you hear it, and it's the same theme.
You're a prominent member and ex-director for the SAP UK and Ireland user group. Firstly, how on earth do you find the time to do that? Because you're now still heavily involved. And what role do you play now that you're no longer a board member?
Well, thankfully, it was only once a quarter. I mean, plus a little bit of pre-read before the board meetings. But I suppose then there was the travel. I made time for it because I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
How I found the time, I'm yet... Little time machine would have been good. I would be lying if I didn't say that, yeah, I am glad to get some of that time back. But then some of that time I'm now investing in the Women in SAP stream. So, yeah, whereas I don't now attend the quarterly board meetings or have to read the documents that come out before the board meetings, but I still now, I'm heavily involved with regards to setting up sessions, trying to find people to do the presenting. But at least I have a co-chair in Emma Chambers, so she's works for National Air Traffic Control people, and because there are two of us, we can spread the load, and we've got the supportive Julie who works for the user group as well. So it's taking a bunch of us to keep it running. On top of day jobs.
So it's a big deal, isn't it? I believe it's a big event. I've been to the IFS user groups before. I don't know, I haven't been to one in quite a while, actually. Steph, you're part of that.
Yeah, I'm on the committee for the IFS one, and it is, you kind of sign up to these things. I was very naive when I signed up for it. Oh, yeah, that sounds great. And then suddenly, obviously you want to have an engaged community, so you have to put the effort in to get the results. And the conference once a year, it does take its toll, but it is all worth it when you sit back and reflect. But exactly the same as you, I just think, how do I fit it all in? But you just find a way of doing it, don't you? Like it just becomes part of the norm.
Just between the two of you, what do you think is the major benefit of joining a user group as a user, as an ERP user? Is it just that chance to connect with like-minded individuals, or is there some other aspect to it that we don't know about, or that,
I mean, I would never downplay. I would never have made it with my own sanity to the point which I've got to without networks.
Really?
So it is.
I agree. I think that you can't put a price on similar customers talking to each other in terms of, so you might on the surface be completely different businesses, but actually your business needs are still the same fundamentally. Yeah. And I think just sharing best practice and kind of, oh, well, I've had this challenge. Oh, have you? Oh, I've got that now. And kind of like sharing does actually, it lightens the load. And you also build friendships, I think, more than, it's on a business and on a personal level. I think it just takes it to the next level. I'd definitely encourage anyone, whichever vendor you're with, to kind of join the community, because I think you get so much value out of it, for sure.
Yeah. And I would definitely not have survived myself with my career without it. I'd say my first role around SAP, because it's suddenly an ERP, it's more where it comes from a solution that just dealt with pensions, group pensions. And then it's suddenly like, and admittedly, I was a probably slightly cocky 25-year-old. I can do this. And then ERP, they've got procurement, they've got finance, they've got all these different departments. Yeah. Initially coming
that bit talks to that, like what?
You can't do, I think in the world of ERP, you can't do it without networks, because you can never know.
I completely agree. In fact, I had this conversation with someone probably a couple of hours ago where they've recently taken on part of an ERP project. And I was like, you're never gonna know. Oh, so just accept that. The sooner you accept that, the better. And you start using those people around you, the networks, life becomes simpler.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're all volunteers, I assume, as well. So you're all giving your own time to do this. So it's, it's
just for the love of it, Abi.
You're all mad. But I get it. I mean, that's really important that there are people out there putting back in,
Just like Fiona just said, you get a lot out of it yourself personally. So I think it's not just, I'm giving up my time. I am actually getting something in return as well from a selfish point of view.
Yeah.
It just becomes easier to navigate.
Oh, much.
Sharing a problem.
How are your final preps going for the SAP user group event? And what kind of thing can people expect from one of those events?
Well, thankfully, I'm actually one step away this year, because last year I was involved in the group that was actually organising the event, whereas now I'm just sort of making sure whatever Craig and team ask for, try and deliver for them. So, because the user group is actually an organisation run by permanent people with a network of volunteers to be able to set up. So they don't know the content, so they're not techie people, but we are a not-for-profit organisation. We're not funded by SAP. It's all funded by memberships. But the sessions are technical business, all about roadmaps, trying to hear from SAP themselves about what's actually coming, or what's happened in the last 12 months, what's coming. We have SAP themselves running some sessions, but we do mostly have customer-led sessions. So hearing about experience. So one of the big topics in the SAP space is conversion to S4. So their next product. So it's a lot about experienced people who've done it, who've learned from it, and people like myself. So we haven't done it. Yeah. Hearing from that, all the technologies. I say SAP comes with many technologies. So how those technologies all interact with the core ERP. But along with that, I say we have a number of wellbeing sessions, but also the Women SAP scheme.
That's brilliant.
And we have SUGFest, which is the evening networking event.
I've heard about this.
Wow.
It's good.
I mean, how many people do you get, just out of interest?
So it's about 600.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Good numbers.
Completely different industries, presumably, and yeah.
Oh,
amazing.
No, I think at the moment it's just a drive for Craig and team to get the numbers. It's always a last-minute dash.
If it's any consolation, ours is exactly the same. You start panicking, going, "Oh crikey, we've put all this money down. Like, are we gonna? People are actually going to turn up?"
Well, we weren't sure because last year was still that. Are we going to have another COVID outbreak? Are we really going to do this? And I think, although I think on the day eventually, the people from Scotland couldn't make it. I think there'd been snow. There was a storm, and it was we're going to get people, but we had really good attendance, and I'm hoping for better this year as well.
Amazing. Yeah, we had our first one since COVID in May, and you know what? It was so nice to bring people together, and everyone just loved it. We could have presented anything, and it's similar content in terms of us as a vendor, but also customers. We try and get them presenting kind of more, and there's so much to be had from just having an actual in-person conversation.
Yes,
that's it. On that topic then, I guess, of managing the event, but project management. Now, you've got some strong project management skills behind you. Firstly, what qualities do you think makes a good PM? And why is a PM a really important player as part of a project?
Well, definitely the ability to listen and good with people.
Yeah.
I think too. I would like to say organised, but I don't see myself as a totally organised person. And obviously, you have to be able to keep on top of what's going. But for me, the role of project manager has actually changed a bit within our own organisation in the fact because we're trying to move to more agile ways of working.
Yeah.
So rather than having these great big programs of work, which you always need somebody orchestrating and keeping on top of it. Without somebody making sure you're hitting your deadlines, you know where you're going. But I'm not sure. I'm assuming it's the same with other ERPs. Within the SAP space, it does help to understand the technology you're trying to manage a project against, because you'll come across things. We've had this before.
Absolutely.
I think people who've not been around the technology won't.
Yeah, experience is everything. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I've got many battle scars, I'll be honest. For me, it's quite nice because we're doing a move to Azure now, but when I worked, the previous role was with EDF when we'd moved to AWS. So can learn from, okay, this happened there. Let's make sure we don't do it here. So there's a lot about bringing your experience.
Yeah.
It's really important, for sure.
It is.
But it's definitely people. If you can't manage people,
then you shouldn't be doing it.
Project management probably isn't for you.
On that note, can you share any tips for ensuring ERP projects' success from a PM's perspective?
Find out if somebody will have almost definitely done it before you.
Yeah.
And use the network. Find out what other people learn. Mm-hmm. Don't start your project without that.
And that's kind of where the user group comes in.
Yeah.
Go in prepared.
Absolutely. As you can be.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, and expect the unexpected.
Yeah, always. And do you have any advice for SAP users specifically who are about to embark on a new project? We hear a lot about IFS on this podcast. We hear a fair bit about Infor as well, but SAP is new ground for us. So we won't understand what you're saying, but...
Yeah. I suppose, for me, my first role, I thought I could know it all. I went in, it nearly broke me, I'll be honest. I came out from my first SAP role. I came out half the person I was when I went in. But don't expect to know it all, but build those networks. Find the people that do know and don't put the pressure on yourself to know it all. I went in and thought, right, I can learn all of this. It's an ERP. What was I thinking? But yeah, build the right networks, your right support, and you'll get through.
Yeah.
If you get knocked down, get back up. It sounds easy. It wasn't, but
That's good advice.
Resilience, yeah. Definitely.
Don't let it win. Don't let SAP, because it'll try. It's a beast.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger and all that.
All of that for sure. Yeah. And I wouldn't be where I was if I hadn't gone through that, I don't think.
This is it. And we can see that you place importance on challenges and constantly challenging yourself. And I think that's a great way to be, because you're constantly learning that way, aren't you?
Yeah. Although sometimes I don't always go looking for it. It seems to find me. Yeah. I wouldn't be who I am now without having been through that.
Yeah, that's great. And as an advocate for women in SAP, do you have any advice to women in our sector and men as allies?
I think to me, yeah, for the women, just do it. Even if you don't, I didn't think, if you'd said to me even 3 years ago when I first took the job, oh, you'll be looking after all SAP stuff for Welsh Water. No, not in Nelly. But here I am and I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it. And hopefully doing a good job because I'm still here. And I think to the men, it's provide that encouragement and support. Even if then I wouldn't say it's trying not to be too pushy, because there's that coming across as, oh, little darling, would you like some help? Versus I'm here and I want to help.
Yeah, part of the team sort of thing. Yeah, that's good. Good advice. Thank you very much for joining us, Fiona.
Yeah, thanks, Fiona. It's been great.
Yeah, great to have our first sort of SAP representative on the show. We haven't had anybody before, so thank you very much. Although Chris, we did have Chris, first female SAP representative.
Well, I shall leave you both to it.
Thank you very much. See you later.
Bye.